Hello and welcome to the Hyundai Ioniq 5N, a name very hard to say quickly. But this car, if you are new to it, is an EV that is supposed to be for real car guys or real enthusiasts. Basically standing up to the man while also having an EV platform. It essentially simulates gear shifting, it simulates engine sound, which on paper I know sounds pretty dorky, but it does all these things pretty effectively. Now, the Ioniq 5N is a car that you have to really experience a long time to really soak in and let it fool you. This thing tries to trick your brain to the best of its ability. And if you didn't know, this is one of the most praised cars of 2024. And including me, I was blown away by this thing when I first reviewed it last year. Now, my question was, what would it be like to, say, own this car? And do the gimmicks kind of wear thin? Do you kind of get numb to them, or do they get annoying? So that is what today's video is. We're going to talk all about what it's like to own a Hyundai Ioniq 5N. I've had this thing for basically a week. I'm going to tell you all about it, my experience, the things I like, the things I don't like, and my overall ownership experience. So let's get into it. Thoughts, questions, concerns? Well said. So I have lived with the Ioniq 5N a while now. God, that's crazy. This was one of those cars that when they announced it and they said what they set out to do, I think all of us just wanted to make fun of it. The concept was very weird. The concept was kind of gimmicky. You're going to try to simulate a gearbox and sounds through a speaker system. Very much how about 10 years ago, people started funneling sounds through the speaker from the engine. This time, there is no engine, right? It's all artificial. When it comes to experiencing an EV on a daily commute for a while or daily driving one, the most I have is the Taycan Turbo S. Ultimate first world problem, but I really like the Taycan Turbo S because it has a 2-speed in it. It could kind of gauge where you were in the acceleration. This does that even better, which is crazy to say. The gearbox is way more convincing than you would actually think. It simulates the shifts very well. It's not too overly dramatic, but it does feel like a car is shifting. This might seem like a small thing, but hear me out. This might be one of my favorite center console designs of all time. Your cup holders are all the way down here. They're not intrusive to anything, your radio, your AC, or anything like that. And then up here is the deck. So you have your wireless charging and you have your wireless CarPlay, which is great. Your camera button is here. Everything is just very convenient. And I really like it because it's just not intrusive at all. I'm basically never hitting my knee on this center console. I think it's such a well-designed piece of interior, honestly. What do you think of the center console, Ghost? All right, well said. You know, Hyundai was always kind of hinting that, you know, if you didn't tell somebody that this was an EV, they probably wouldn't know if you had it on the ignition mode, which is the virtual engine sound, right? That's what I'm in right now, and it even has a burble tune. One thing that's really fun about this car is when you give people rides, if they are uneducated about the whole EV world and they're still car people, I'd say you have a 50% chance of fooling people into thinking it's actually a gas car if you just don't let them know it's an EV. It sounds incredible. It's 100% EV. No way. It's 100% EV. No way. Especially if you have like a little bit of music on to kind of blend in the audio. That really sells it, right? I'm trying to get in the mind of people, right? I mean, this entire car's gimmick is psychological warfare, right? To convince a car enthusiast that an EV can be fun. Also, another thing is if you put it in the wrong gear and say you're going up a hill, it'll actually load very much like a combustion engine going, hey, you're in the wrong gear, doofus. Another thing too is if you want to turn all this stuff off and just have a traditional fast EV, you can. And in fact, you can turn all the sound off if you want. But that's kind of what makes this car special and different from its competitors. It's so fast, dude. It's so fast. I'm at 56% charged right now, but I'm gonna go charge it, see how long it takes to charge it all the way to the top. That's always the big inconvenience with these things, right? It's always like, oh great, like it's fun and all, but you gotta sit around for a while to have that fun again. There's also two other sounds, if you didn't know. One is Evolution, which we are in now, which is kind of like an old F1 car slash futuristic EV thing. See? It's so, yeah, man. I always like go, remember David, it's a Hyundai. And then I do that and I'm like, all right, South Korea, I see you. But Evolution is fun if you want kind of that futuristic kind of feeling. And then there's Supersonic, which is probably the most divisive of all of them. It's like a fighter jet or a turbine noise. And if you hit it just right in the RPM, it does a loud sonic boom, and I'm not joking. And it makes me laugh every single time. It always sneaks up on you too. I know it seems really corny and cheesy, but it does make the experience more fun to drive. It really does. Because, you know, EVs typically are like one-trick ponies. They are all fast. They're usually one gear with no sound, and you just hear the rocks, right, hitting against the body or coming off the tires. This really brings something that makes your day-to-day life a little bit more interesting, I would say. And I want to be very clear, I was very skeptical of this car, like I said. Can I get the boom? But Ignition has a purple tune as well that actually sounds like it's behind you. So I'm going to park and charge this bad boy. All right, let's see if this is user-friendly for charging, because a lot of the EVs can be kind of confusing sometimes. All right, we're charging it. Look how satisfying that is. We also have this guy if we have a different plug-in, which I think this one is where I'm at. All right, you'll never guess what happened. This charger doesn't work. It is down. I tried all three right here. Every time. I always have some problem with chargers, man. Every single time. And I'm not bluffing. I have to go find a different one. It is the #1 kryptonite of EVs. Having to find chargers, having to find one that works, and not one that is full. Most of the time, when you finally find them, they're all taken anyway. That's the thing about the EV stuff, is the inconvenience. As of right now, there is still inconvenience, unless you install a charger at home, which is the obvious thing to do, but it's still expensive. All right, take 2 of charging. Let's try this again. All right, so Electrify America did not do me dirty like the last one. And it says 18 minutes left until 80%, which is kind of the prime percentage for this car, I believe, and a lot of other EVs. So not so bad. Or at 54%. Let's see what happens. All right, we have 84%, and I got 26 minutes to go. I already killed some time walking around, but still a good bit. All right, finally done. That was a while, but now I have 205 miles. Also, it'll hit rev limiter if you stay in the wrong gear too long. There's also a drift mode where it puts all the torque and power to the rear. Also, the value per dollar of this car, it's not a cheap car, right? It's not cheap at all. But I will say, compared to a lot of its competitors, the speed, the value, the fun factor, it's way up there. It's my favorite Hyundai interior out of all of them. I love the seats. They're basically buckets, but they're not too rigid and annoying. Like, my back has never had a problem, especially with my skateboarding background, right? I have some back issues sometimes, and this has not brought those to fruition. The in logo lights up at night, kind of gives it a cool vibe. At night, this car inside is really neat with all the ambient lighting. The user interface can be very overwhelming at first, but with all the customization, you end up kind of liking how in-depth it is, right? You end up learning the interface and going, oh, like, I have all these options that I can make my car exactly what I want. One really neat thing is, if I have the key on me at all or in my pocket, if I just walk up to it, it'll actually know I'm coming and get ready for me, which is really neat. I truly think it might be the best Korean car ever built. I know that sounds really crazy, but I actually see this as a technological and engineering achievement. And it's no surprise that people like Ford right now allegedly have filed a patent for a manual transmission for EVs. People want more interaction with their EVs if they're an enthusiast. This is right at the cusp, right, of somebody who could buy a really nice sports car, like a C8 Corvette or something, but they still need the 4 doors and everything. And it's still so fast, dude. Yo, hold on. The key is really cheap. That's like the #1 thing I noticed. But everything else, man, center console design, I absolutely love it. Also, 360 cameras look fantastic as well. I will say though, I don't like it when I have the sound on, but the shifting off. Kind of like the Dodge Charger EV everyone's complaining about, right? With that kind of sound that they have, but there's no shifting. It just kind of holds a frequency. Woo! You don't have that simulated gear shift. You don't have that conclusion to the sound, right? Your body, who's used to combustion motor, really wants that conclusion to the sound, right? That upshift or that downshift. This just kind of feels like it goes on forever and has no ending, right? Turn all the shifting and stuff on, it drives like a car that you're used to, which I prefer. That's one thing about the Teslas and stuff I never really liked, was the regen braking where you didn't have to hit the brakes. You just, you go and you let off and it leaps forward. Also, very much like the Genesis brand, when you turn your blinker on your heads-up display, or your user interface rather, there's tiny cameras in your mirrors. So when I hit it, I can see a camera turn on the screen, and it shows me my blind spot. So I basically double confirm the lane change. I look at my mirror, and then I look here and go, okay, I'm not crazy. I can merge over. Here's an example of me putting it in the wrong gear. It's bogging, right? It's bogging just like a combustion engine would, which is really neat. So, in the end, the Hyundai Ioniq 5N, what did I think of it after all these days? Honestly, the car is an absolute knockout. I know it's still a pretty expensive car, but for an enthusiast to kind of check a lot of boxes while still having fun, especially if you stay kind of local and don't take a lot of long road trips, this is an awesome daily driver. And what I have realized with the Ioniq 5N is sharing the experience. It is the absolute highlight of this car. Having some fun and seeing if people guess if it's gasoline or not. It's honestly funny. I thought a lot of people would find the sounds more annoying than it actually turned out to be. People said that the speaker system was convincing enough to not annoy them. I truly thought that this thing would give it away that was an EV almost immediately, but the gearing tuning, excuse me, is so precise that it would fool just about anybody if they did not know. Especially if you say, oh yeah, it's a hybrid assisted car, you know what I mean? It's an engineering achievement, and I think a lot of companies are going to basically follow their lead on this out of all people. Also, at the same time, what do you guys think about this car? Do you like it? Do you not like it? Do you think that all the journalists are shills? I truly think this car deserves the praise that it got. I'm really blown away to say that, because at the end of the day, I'm still team combustion, but this is pretty amazing. And on that note, I'll see you guys next time. Take it easy. Have a wonderful day. Goodbye.